Legend of the Spirit Buds. Chapter 1, Reiki Revival. A few years ago, the world's skies changed like never before. The aura poured into the earth like a torrent, and the flora and fauna suddenly ushered in an unprecedented evolution. And this change is not a disorderly natural development, but accompanied by countless demonic beasts and demonic plants, ravaging the entire planet. The sea is rough, the roar of beasts is heard in the forest, the sky is no longer carefree blue, the birds are terrifying, and the air is full of strange magic. With the revival of Reiki, humanity is no longer the master of the planet. Those who are called awakened are beginning to have innate abilities. They can control fire, or control water, or control storms, and some can even speak to the forces of the earth. These abilities have made the awakened quickly become the combat force of various countries, running on the front line of the wreaking havoc of warcraft, protecting every inch of land, and fighting against warcraft and harsh natural phenomena. However, this world has not been restored to tranquility, but has become more complicated. The threat of monsters and plants remains, and in some places, even the strongest awakened cannot protect the lives of the people. In such a chaotic world, there is an ordinary young man named Qin Yan's, who is not an awakened person and has not experienced any strange changes. It's just that, like most people, he worked hard and lived hard. Chapter 2, The Spirit Survival System. Qin Yan's is engaged in ordinary administrative work, and his daily life is ordinary. Although he does not have the ability to fight against warcraft, he still hopes to find his own place in this world full of changes. However, a sudden accident completely changed his fate. That day, Qin Yan's was reading the news at home, and suddenly a strange message flashed on the mobile phone screen. System startup. Ding. Congratulations on setting up the Spirit Survival System. As soon as the message came out, Qin Yan's only felt dizzy for a while, and then the vision in front of him became blurred, as if he had entered another space. It's a strange oasis with fresh air and surrounded by beautiful elves with tiny wings that flutter like tiny dots of light. The voice of the system continued to echo in his head. Cute and soft, arrogant and clingy, lively and full of all kinds of elves, they are little experts in spiritual plants, do you really not consider binding? Qin Yan's eyes widened, looking at the scene in front of him in disbelief. This is elf? And there is also a system? Hey, wait a minute, elven survival system? I'm not dreaming, am I? Qin Yan's touched his face to make sure that he was not dreaming. The system is successfully started, and the binding is complete. The system's voice is as crisp and cute as an elf. Your ability has been activated, a wood-based ability that you can use to plant and raise elves. Qin Yan's felt a headache, and although he was a little confused, he still followed the system's prompts and began to understand the power of this wood-based ability. With a slight touch, a sapling instantly grew out of the soil and quickly emitted a strange light. It's Spirit Plant. Qin Yan's couldn't believe his eyes. The system responds again, yes, the Spirit Plant is able to absorb the aura of heaven and earth, and as the aura increases, it gradually evolves into a powerful life form. You can also cultivate elves to become guardians of spirit plants. Chapter 3, Farming begins. Although Qin Yan's was initially confused by this sudden change, he soon realized the infinite possibilities that this ability brings. So, he decided to give up his stable life in the city, chose to quit his job, went to a picturesque village, and started his own life of farming. It's my only choice. Qin Yan silently made up his mind in his heart, and with the only savings, he bought a vacant land in the countryside and started his spiritual plant cultivation road. However, it wasn't as simple as he thought. The spiritual plants planted on the land require constant care from him, giving them daily aura and water, and using the guidance provided by the system to improve the soil environment. Initially, the spiritual plants he planted did not grow well, and even withered a little. But as time passed, he gradually mastered the technique, and the spirit plants began to grow healthy and strong. He even bred a few cute elves, some of which were like small flowers and colorful, some are like small birds, flying lightly in the air, others are like little squirrels, jumping and playing around him. I didn't expect that this is really a world of souls. Qin Yan's heart was full of surprise and joy. Chapter 4, The Road to Business. A few years later, Qin Yan's Lingzi farm gradually became famous. As the demand for spiritual plants grew, more and more awoken came to his farm to purchase rare spiritual plants to use to boost their abilities or as a Pokemon training. And the elves have also become the guardians of this land, intertwined with Qin Yan's life, bringing endless vitality to this land. And on this vibrant farm, Qin Yan's lover, Soul Linjao, also silently guarded him, prepared snacks for him, and took care of everything for him. She always smiled gently, fed him tea, walked with him, and lived a simple but happy life. Brother Zi, today's spirit plant is really good. Soul Linjao said softly on the side. Qin Yan's looked up at the emerald green field, with a look of satisfaction in his eyes. He is no longer the confused and helpless young man he was at the beginning, but has his own career, his own life, and has found his own happiness in this land. Yes, Yayo, all of this is the result of my efforts with the elves. Qin Yan smiled softly, picked up the snack she handed over, and slowly enjoyed this moment of tranquility. At this moment, a shining elf flew in the sky, its wings shining like light, as if it was the most beautiful guardian of this land. Qin Yan's and Solinjao looked at each other and smiled, and silently prayed in their hearts, no matter what the future holds, he will continue to protect this hard-won peace and tranquility with his lover and elves in this oasis. Chapter 5, The Road Ahead. With the revival of Reiki, the world will enter a new era. And Qin Yan's will continue his legendary road in this soil. He knows that this is just the beginning and that there is still a long way to go. Chapter 6, Danger Lurks. Although Qin Yan's Sling Z farm is prosperous, the world is not simply quiet. Reiki revival brings not only opportunities, but also countless hidden dangers. The source of these crises does not come from warcraft or demon plants, but from some forces that are quietly plotting behind the scenes. As the demand for the spirit plant market grew, some powerful chambers of commerce and the awakened family began to set their sights on Qin Yan's farm. His spirit plants and spirits are not only a huge help for the awakened's abilities, but can also be used to craft elixirs, and other valuable items. Qin Yan's didn't realize that behind these forces, there was a huge conspiracy network. One day, a mysterious guest suddenly came to Qin Yan's farm. He was a well-dressed middle-aged man with deep eyes, named Senwia, who claimed to be from a top chamber of commerce and showed great interest in Qin Yan's spirit plant. Mr. Qin, your spirit plant is very unique, and on behalf of our chamber of commerce, I am willing to reach a long-term cooperation agreement with you. Senwia smiled, but there was some kind of elusive meaning in his words. Qin Yan saw that this person was personable and well-spoken, so he didn't think much about it, and said with a smile, "Thank you for your appreciation, but I just want to keep this land and live a simple life, and I don't want to get involved in business struggles." "Oh? Mr. Qin, you can think clearly, this land may be just a place for you to cultivate spiritual plants, but for us, it is the key to mastering future resources." Senwia said lightly, with a hint of threat in his tone. These words made Qin Yan's heart tighten, and he suddenly realized that he might no longer be able to run this farm as simply as in the past. Senwia's words were like an undercurrent, affecting the future fate of the farm. Chapter 7, The Dark Deal. The arrival of Senwia is not a simple business cooperation. In fact, the Chamber of Commerce behind this middle-aged man hides a huge network of interests, and their goal is not only the spiritual plant market, but also to completely control the aura resources and control the power of various abilities and magic. After some careful consideration, Qin Yan's decided to keep his distance from Senwia and his Chamber of Commerce. He knew that once he cooperated with such a force, he would no longer be able to maintain the pure life he had at the beginning. However, it doesn't end there. A few days later, Qin Yan's noticed that the environment around the farm had undergone subtle changes. The activities of the elves became extremely frequent, and the growth rate of the spirit plants began to increase abnormally, and even some spirit plants showed unknown lesions. Suspicious, he decided to find out the truth thoroughly. At this time, the voice of the system sounded again. "Warning, farm spirit plants are being disturbed by external energy, please take precautions immediately." Qin Yan's immediately strengthened the protective barrier of the farm and began to check the flow of aura around him. He found that the Chamber of Commerce brought by Senwia had quietly established some secret devices around it, and these devices were not only controlling the spiritual energy, but were even conducting some special screening and control of the spiritual plants on the farm. These Chambers of Commerce. Qin Yan's gritted his teeth angrily, he realized that Senwia was not a simple businessman at all, but an ambitious power controller. His true goal is to take full control of the land's spirit plants and elves, and use them for commercial transactions and power exchanges on a larger scale. Chapter 8, Counterattack and Awakening. In the face of this huge external threat, Qin Yan's did not choose to retreat. After consulting with Solinjao, he decided to unite some opponents of the Chamber of Commerce and launch a counterattack against Senwia and his forces. He contacted several awakened beings with special abilities, and began to use the system's help to improve his ability to control the spirit plant. "I can't let this land be ruined by them." Qin Yan's made up his mind and began to further stimulate his abilities. After combining the wood-based ability with the system's elven survival system, he was gradually able to mobilize more powerful forces, and was even able to counter the interference of the outside aura through the power of the spirit plant and the elves. A few weeks later, Qin Yan's had successfully cultivated several extremely powerful spirit plants, which were far more powerful than any previous ones, and had a strong self-healing ability. Under the protection of these spirit plants, the farm's defenses became stronger and stronger. When Senwia appeared on Qin Yan's farm again, he could no longer easily control the land. Qin Yan's greeted him and said coldly, "Everything you have planned will not succeed after all. This land belongs to me." Seeing this, Senwia's brows furrowed slightly, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. As a fierce confrontation unfolded, Qin Yan's used the spirit plants and elves he had cultivated to successfully repel Sen Wui's power. His wood-based ability has also reached a new peak in this life and death duel. Chapter 9, A New Future. In the end, Sen Wui's conspiracy failed. Qin Yan's farm not only returned to a peaceful state, but also began to attract more supporters, and many awakened people who wanted to live a simple life came to this land to cultivate and reproduce spiritual plants with Qin Yan's. As the spirit plant market continued to be popular, Qin Yan's name gradually became louder, and his farm became a holy place for spirit plant lovers and supernatural people. And his and Solinjao's lives have also returned to peace and beauty. One day, Qin Yan sat in his favorite rocking chair with a pot of tea and a plate of snacks next to him, looking at the distant sky. The elves are dancing in the air, and the spirit plants are growing in the land, all of which seem to be the most beautiful dreams. Brother Zi, the future will be better. Solinjao said to him with a smile. Qin Yan's nodded slightly, a trace of tenderness and firmness flashed in his eyes. Yes, our future will be better.